Hey, welcome everyone. So glad that you can be a part of this webinar. This is people have been asking for this since before the pandemic, and we have had to put it off until now. Welcome. We're so glad you're here, and you're going to learn a lot today. I am now going to introduce and then turn it over to my colleagues. Day Davis, who is our social media specialist and project manager. She's going to talk about creating some Facebook ads with all of this targeted information that you get from your Mission Insight report. And then now I'm going to turn it over to Jacob Turner, who is our local church liaison and also the conference administrator for MissionInsite, who is going to walk you through the reporting. And we're going to be able to help you guys create some incredible social media campaigns for your Advent season. Thanks. Jacob?
All right. Thank you so much, Amy. Again, my name is Jacob Turner. As the web developer and local church liaison for the Arkansas Conference, kind of do a couple of different things. So you've probably heard my name before in terms of websites and such, but I am also the conference administrator for MissionInsite, a program that we've had for some time now, but we're really excited to be using it in new ways, especially after their recent acquisition by ACS Technologies and further focus on religious demographic information. So we are conducting this webinar with one big thing in mind, and that is that if you are attending this webinar, you already have your Executive Insight report ready and on hand, whether in digital or paper form. If you do not have that report, if you're a pastor, you should have a MissionInsite account. If you don't, please get in touch with me at jacob.turner@arumca.org. If you are a layperson volunteering for a church, ask your pastor for a report. And again, if they don't have one, contact me. But there should be someone at your church that has access to MissionInsite. If you do have access to MissionInsite, but you're not seeing your correct local church, also get in touch with me, and I can make sure that you have the correct studies and churches assigned to your account. So with all of that out of the way, we are going to again be looking at the Executive Insight report. And the specific part of the report that we will be looking at today is concerning age trends. That is what my colleague Day has created a campaign based on. And so we will be pulling up a report. What I have done is I have selected a random city in the state. I have pulled a Executive Insight report for the city, and that is what we're going to be using. So this is just a completely random anonymous city somewhere in Arkansas, and that's all you really need to know. We're going to be looking at a specific page here. Again, this is page 5 of your standard Executive Insight report. I'm sharing my screen with y'all now so you can see. If you can't see this report, if I have something else just pulled up, let me know, because I can't see anything now. What we're looking at here is the Insight number 3, age trends. Now, what this chart shows is essentially age groups are broken down in this particular area, in this particular community, and giving you raw numbers for how many people in that age group are there in the community and what percentage of the community they constitute. And you'll notice here that this is 2010 is the first column here. That goes to 2019. That's based on the most recent available data. Here's 2024, a 5-year estimate, and 2029, which is a 10-year estimate. These reports are updated every year. You should be pulling a MissionInsite report about once a year. Again, the Executive Insight reports are updated once every year. There are certain MissionInsite reports that are only updated once every 4 years. So do keep that in mind. But this report in particular is updated every year. So what we can see with this report is it's pretty interesting stuff. In particular, what we see is there's a little bit here in a decline in children. So ages 0 to 17, there is a statistically significant decline anticipated between 2019 and 2029. and also older families. So families and empty nesters is how they categorize the ages 35 to 54. Those ages have also had a statistically significant, potentially statistically significant decline here. However, with that said, there's a significant increase in your 55 and 64 and 65 and older groups. Those are statistically significantly trending upwards. And the point here that we're noting that's interesting as well, your singles and young families in this community, the ages 25 to 34, have a statistically significant increase at 2.3%. So what we're seeing with this is that this community may not have as many families, traditional like families with children in their city limits, but they are seeing a large number of younger people and people that are going more into their retirement age in this community within the city limits. So that's what this particular pager report shows. And again, this is a 16-page report full of information, but again, this is your standard Executive Insight report, and this page is all we're focusing on for today's Facebook, for today's ad campaign that we're demonstrating. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this time, and I want to encourage you all as this webinar continues that if you have questions about anything that we ask, go ahead and put them in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. You'll see the Q&A button, and we'll respond to them at appropriate times during the webinar. So with that out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to Day to talk a little bit more about how you take this particular report and the page I just showed you and turn it into something that can be used to target audiences on social media with an ad campaign. Dick, it's over to you.
All right, thanks, Jacob. Okay, I'm going to start by just showing you how to get to the ad center to where you can create a campaign. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so start by going to your Facebook page. This is the updated Facebook. I don't know if everyone's Facebook has been updated, but if it's not, or if it is, so you can go by going to Creator Studio on the left-hand corner, left-hand side. On the older version, it should be at the top somewhere. So for now, we're gonna go to Creator Studio. And then over here, where it says Resources, go to Ads Manager. And you will see all of your ads, boosted ads, all your campaigns will show up here. So we're going to go and create. And the first thing you need to do before you start any of this is know your goal, so you can know what your campaign objective should be. There's a lot of options, which can be really overwhelming. But if you scroll over, it kind of shows you what each objective helps you do. So for this, we're going to go with traffic, because for my example, I'm saying that my church wants to promote a new women's virtual Bible study. And so we are trying to drive people to the church's website where they can learn more about the Bible study and register. So, and that's what traffic does. It helps to drive to a certain destination or website. Traffic. And then you always want to name your campaign something very specific. Each part of this needs to be named the same thing, so you can go back later on and look at it, or if you need to make edits or anything, it just keeps it more organized. So make sure you do that. So I'm just going to name this Women's Bible Study 2020, and then I'll copy that for each part of the campaign, and then I will continue. So here's the first part. You can just see all this. You can run an A/B test on some of it, which is if you want to run 2 different campaigns to see which one does better. I don't think it's necessary for right now though. So we are going to go to the next step, which is where all of the information from the Executive Insight report will be useful. So first of all, we know that we want to drive people to the website. We will scroll down You want to enter a daily budget, and you want to make sure that you have an end date. I recommend not having too high of a budget. That is always something you can go in and change later on. So let's just say for this, I'm going to make it $7 a day. I don't think it's necessary to have a very large budget, especially for smaller areas that most churches are trying to reach to. Now, if you were reaching the whole country, $20 a day or a lot higher would be necessary, but not for this. So for an end date, I don't think you need to go any further more than a week out. At that point, most people in your audience that you are trying to target have seen it, have seen your ad, and at that point, they have started to ignore it because they've seen it so much. So we'll just say Tuesday, November 3rd. Another cool thing about this is you can choose to only run ads, which is not letting me right now, but you can only run ads for certain days or hours at a time. If you don't want to run your ads from, let's say, 11 p.m. to 8 a.m., if you don't think that your targets will be, or your target audience will be reached at that time, you can turn it off during that. Next, we are going to create an audience. So I'm going to, well, first of all, Facebook automatically chooses the United States as your location. So you want to change that. And I'm just going to choose a random location. I'm going to type in Bentonville. And it will pop up. And it will show me, so it automatically chooses 25-mile range. You can make that a larger range up to 50 miles, not really necessary, or a smaller range. You can also target if you know where certain people or where your target audience is more populated, you can drop a pin on those areas. Like say there's a large part of your audience is right here. You can drop a pin there. You can also make it bigger, smaller, and you can remove it. Oops. Back up. Just stay right there. Okay. Next, I'm going to choose my age range. So since for this, I'm trying to target women, primarily younger moms. So I'm going to make the age range about 25 to 40. And I'm going to make the gender women focus.
Okay. Could you tell me how you're, why you've decided to target that age group for the ad and how you connect that back to the MissionInsite report?
Yeah, absolutely. So mainly the in this example, since the Bible study is women, it's going to be focused mostly on younger moms in the area. And I also know that, here, I'll pull up the report. Oh, I can't get this thing to go away. Sorry, guys. I'm having problems with this up here. How do I make this go away? Anyways, okay. So I know that the age range primarily, because of this executive insight report in this area, it has a high, or the average age is 34. So I want to make sure that I'm targeting people in that area. Does that make sense, Amy?
It totally does. And I would add, if there are any church leaders on here, to know that through this executive, this MissionInsite report, that should help you determine what ministries you want to offer. You know, of course, we all want to offer a Bible study for young moms. You know, every church wants to do that because we want young moms. But if we don't have the demographic of young moms, then maybe we need to offer a support study or whatever for the demographic that we do have. So that's another reason why this MissionInsite report is so important. But yes, thank you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that MissionInsite, I just learned how to use MissionInsite, on Friday, and my mind is already blown. Like, I think that this is such an incredible resource for so many different things.
I just want to note as well that we are, again, only covering the Executive Insight Report in today's webinar, but there are other reports that you can leverage, and some of which we will offer future more information on in the future. But if you have questions about using them today, again, feel free to contact us. We'll be happy to walk you through some of the other reports if you have questions about those as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, next I'm going to choose for detailed targeting. This is where it is very influential. So choose to edit, and you can choose so many different demographics, interests, behaviors. For this, there are a few I wrote down. So I want to target people who have shown interest in Bible study or religion, So this is kind of like people who have expressed an interest or liked pages related to Bible study. I mean, it could be so much as if they've liked a post from another church about a new Bible study coming up. So I'm choosing that one. Then I also want to include people who have expressed interest in families. If they have liked a post, a Facebook page, or showed interest in something relating to family. And I'm also going to browse over here and look at the demographics, parents. So I want young parents or young moms. So I'm going to choose new parents, parents with early school age children, parents with preschoolers, and parents with preteens. It's also important to keep in mind while you're doing all of this, pay attention to your audience definition. It is Facebook's way of telling you if you're being too narrow in your audience or too broad. So I see in this right now, it's saying that I'm too broad, but I'm still in the green, so that's okay. Also over here, it will tell me how many people I could reach per day and how many link clicks I could get. This is just a guess, but since it is such a small area, I'm probably not going to get a whole lot of link clicks per day. I'm going to keep going and let's see. Another thing you can do is, so you can, Facebook automatically chooses where your ads are placed on Instagram, Facebook, if it's in Instagram stories, if it shows up on their pages randomly, but you can choose that yourself too. And so I know we're not going over the, MissionInsite report today, but I do kind of want to show you something really cool on that. In the MissionInsite report, it shows you what part of your demographic uses what social media channels. So I see in this area that we're focusing on, they show me 18% of these people use Facebook, 8% use Instagram, and those are pretty big numbers. So I'm going to make sure that I include this in Facebook and in Instagram. So after that, I will click next. And so to create the ad, so I know I want to use one single image. Just turn the preview on. I want to use a single image. Try to pull that up. And then go down here to where you can enter the text. So you want to keep the text short and sweet. Keep in mind it's something that people will probably scroll past pretty quickly. So you want to make sure that it's an eye-catching picture and just something short that gives them all the information they need in order to learn or makes them want to learn more too. So for this, I'm just going to have my primary text be something short like join us virtually on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. for our women's Bible study. A headline. Well, hold on, let me add the picture first, sorry. All right, here's the image that I created for this ad. It kind of shows me all the different ways that it can be. I know I want it to be horizontal. So here it's showing me how this is going to look on Facebook. So I know I want to add a headline right here and something short, just a newsfeed link description. So for the headline, I'll make it simple, Women's Bible Study. And description, so up here it says, let's be real, maybe something like, let's be real, or mom needs a break, or something like that. Then you're going to include the website. Now, if it's not you want to include a direct link where you're going. So I would do like arumc.org, register. And then once I was done with all of it, which you can check and preview all of it over here, how it will look on Facebook, Instagram, InStream, which would pop up in a video, you would publish. So, and then afterwards, you can also track your performance. Once your ad is running, you'll be able to track your performance, edit your campaign and ads manager, and see if one version of your ad is doing better. And you can kind of switch out and target it in different areas and stuff like that to check. But that's pretty much it.
Okay, Day, I have a question from Amanda Smith, who wants you to talk a little bit about cost for Facebook ad campaigns. She's with a church that has never paid for an advertisement. And she wants to know, how do I guesstimate how much we should invest? And it will show you, Day will walk you through how Facebook can show you an estimate of the reach that you will get for each dollar amount spent. So Day can walk you through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with your budget, it really is kind of a guessing game, honestly, and you can go in and change your budget after your ad is running and you feel like your budget isn't high enough, or maybe your budget is too high, you can go in and lower it. I think daily budget is the best way to go, because a lifetime budget, say you put in $50 for a lifetime budget, it just, maybe you're not going to reach the same amount of people. However, I will say that Facebook, if you do put in $50 for a lifetime budget, and Facebook doesn't meet that, it does give you back your money. So say you put in $50 and it only spent $40, you'll get your $10 back. It won't keep it. But for a daily budget, it should still change over here to show you the difference in your reach. Let's see, if I go up to $10 a day, the reach went up. But once again, if you're in smaller areas, it's not necessary to have a large budget.
And area is very, very important here, because we're whether or not you're urban or rural also has a significant impact. And in some instances, if you're wanting to micro-target maybe a specific neighborhood, just a very small amount of money will go a long way. So it really is dependent on your area, and you do have to know your area from that. If you have questions about how big should I make my area, you can generate as many MissionInsite reports as you want based on different radiuses around your church, or taking different zip codes into account, or things like that. So generate a couple of different reports if you're trying to narrow down your area very particularly. It's not gonna, you can generate again as many as you want, and it's not gonna be upset with you over that. So that's what I would also recommend, is that if you have questions about how much to spend, try seeing if a 5-mile radius is any different from a 10-mile radius, for example, in the number of people you're reaching, and if it affects the demographics, like your age trends, like we were looking at earlier, in any significant positive or negative direction.
Absolutely. Another thing I forgot to point out, whenever you are choosing your location, so Facebook gives you different options. You can choose people living in this area or recently in this location, people in this location, people recently in this location, or people traveling in this location. Keep that in mind when you're creating a Facebook ad, because that's really important. If someone's just driving through and you're looking for people who actually live in the area, you don't want to choose something like people traveling in this location. What are some more questions we had?
Let's see. Do you ever use Creative Hub to build campaigns for Facebook and Instagram? That's from Beth Roberts.
I haven't actually. That's not something I've looked into, but I'll write it down so I can.
Okay. Beth is at First Church Blytheville. And so after you researched, get with me and I'll get you her contact so y'all can connect and talk about
it. Sounds good. I do want to point out that, and I think I've said this in pretty much every webinar we've done, but Canva, if you're looking to create good and easy, if you don't have Photoshop or anything, good and easy posts, Facebook posts, I mean, you can do so much in Canva, and it has the different dimensions and sizes that you need already prepared for Facebook ads, posts, Instagram, all of it. It's just right there. So, and they already have layouts too. So definitely look into that if you haven't already.
Yeah, if you are at a church and you do not have a graphic designer or someone that is helping you create graphics, Canva is the best thing ever, and so easy for those of us who know nothing about graphic design. So highly recommend that. Thank you for adding that, Day.
And I think it's free too, isn't it?
You can use it for free. There are some options for it just is, it's kind of limited in the designs and templates that they offer, and then if you subscribe, of course you get more, but yeah, we use the free option, I think. So
I want to interject and note that someone brought this to my attention, that Canva Pro is actually free for nonprofit organizations, and that includes churches. That does require you having your IRS 501c3 nonprofit certification letter, which if your church doesn't have it, your district administrator has it. So if you like Canva and you're like, but I need the Pro option, go ahead and look into that, because Canva does allow nonprofits to have free accounts, and that does extend to churches. I can't confirm that. We've had a couple of churches switch to using Pro.
Gotcha. Another question, Day, what is considered a large budget for a Facebook ad?
I mean, honestly, I would say anything over, I don't know, Amy, wouldn't you say we usually spend about 50 if we're trying to target multiple areas of the state? So right. I would say for smaller areas, it could be anything over like $30, I would think is a large budget.
That to me is the beauty of advertising on Facebook, is that it is so, the cost is so good, and we are all looking at our phones all the time and scrolling through Facebook, and that's why it's so important, that you do have a good graphic that's going to catch someone's eye, and that you do have a good headline that is also going to appeal to people. But yeah, I think when we have done like district targeted ads, I think we may have spent like $50 or $60. But yeah, we don't, you do not have to spend much. You do not have to spend much at all.
Especially for running shorter ads.
Right.
Like for a few days at a time, you do not, it's not necessary.
So I have a question that sometimes arises. Should you spend more money or put more money in a budget on an ad if you're running it on Facebook and Instagram versus running it just on Facebook?
No, not necessarily. I think it'll still reach the same amount of people.
Again, you just want to, you want to have your MissionInsite report right beside you and know it, and have highlighted things like your largest demographic, your, all of those pieces before you even start to create an ad, because that's going to tell you, you might not have an audience that is on Instagram. That might not be, even though you love Instagram, you're going to be wasting your money if your audience, if the people that you want to attend this event or that are that live in your geographical area, if they're not on Instagram, you will be wasting your money.
Exactly. Which, okay. And Jacob, I meant to ask you this too. Is there a Mission Insight report that shows you, or that does a breakdown of the age ranges that are on each social media platform?
Unfortunately, no. The reports that you mentioned, the Ministry Insight report, is the only report that shows social media information as far as I'm aware. Again, I'm also a little new to administering this, so I will note that. But the Ministry Insight report is the only one that I'm aware of that does social media breakdowns. That is one of the reports, for the record, for our attendees, that is only updated every 4 years and not every year like your Executive Insight reports are. Those are based on survey data that is conducted by outside organizations and given to the parent company, MissionInsite ACS Technologies, for them to turn into reports that can be pulled in MissionInsite. So I will say, for anybody that's tuning in, the next Ministry Insight report update is in 2021. That'll be the next quadrennium report. So not this year, but next year, and that is just a few months away, believe it or not. You will have access to a new set of 4-year data that will be a little bit more up to date in terms of reaching your area and in terms of social media networks and what networks people are using in your area.
Right. I would like to add on to that also that this Mission Insight report also it gets information from one of the largest credit reporting agencies. I think it's Experian. Is it?
It's a combination of data from Experian, the U.S. Census Bureau, and Synergist Technologies, which is another private data research firm.
Right. So keep in mind that if you're doing, even back it up more, and get focused before you ever start, that if you are having an event, or if you are trying to gather people to drive them to your webpage, or whatever it is that you're wanting them to do, or to sign up for something, think about and research, does this group, is it going to benefit? Are they, if we're doing a food, drive through, and we want to let people know that we're going to be doing, food pantry, you drive through and pick up a collection box of food. You're going to need to target a lower demographic, a lower income demographic. And so that might need to be something. Do they have access to computers? Do they have good broadband access? This might possibly be something that needs a printed door hanger, or a postcard or something like that. So which of course, anytime you print something is much more expensive than using Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. But if it's going to target the audience that you need to reach better, that's very extremely valuable. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, I have a few more questions here.
Well, I wanted to note very quickly on note for if you're doing paper printed, any materials like that, I highly recommend doing Mission Insight reports that are polygon targeted towards specific neighborhoods. You can save a lot on print costs by identifying neighborhoods, not just that are lower income, but may skew much older audiences that don't have access to internet, or as many of you might know, working in rural parts of the state, places that just don't have internet access at all. And trust me, there's a lot still in Arkansas. So if you need to do printed materials, highly recommend getting those reports down at the street level, which you can do with Mission Insight, and going, it may take a lot of pulling reports. You don't have to print all of them off, and you can save a lot of money by really honing in on exactly how many paper things you need, because you might can order a lot less than what you would need to if you were just going to blanket a whole city with them, for example.
Right. Okay, we have a couple more questions. This one's for you, Day. This is from Amanda. Can you talk about the length of time that you want to run an ad? If she wants to, she's talking about promoting an Advent worship service and a corresponding Bible study to older adults per the Insight report. When and for how long should I run this? So she's wanting to run, she's got 2 events here, so I know what you're going to tell her.
Yeah, I'd say about a week at a time for each of those. You can always go in after a week, create a new ad, maybe with a new picture or new text or something, and just see how they do, compare them to each other. But I think running an ad more than a week at a time, all of your audience, especially in smaller areas, your audience is going to see it. And by the end of the 7th day, they're going to start ignoring it. I mean, how many times do you see an ad or something and you, after the first few times, you don't even notice it anymore because it's just always there. You don't want to make that, you don't want to do that for your audience too.
Right.
And just another note is that if someone sees your ad 5 times, you got to pay for every time they see that ad.
Yes, exactly.
So you want to make sure if you're trying to stretch your budget that you're not showing the same ad to the same person who's already made a decision on whether or not they're going to attend.
Right. You know, I would say also, you know, keep in mind that you might want to, I mean, those are 2 separate events, Amanda, so you do not want to run those on the same ad. That's too much information that will be confusing for people. So you're going to want to do 2 separate ads, like Dave said. But I would probably run it. Oh, Dave, when would you, if you were going to, say you're going to do a worship service on December 23rd, when would you start running that ad?
I guess it would depend. Currently, I mean, do they need to know how many people will be there? Do they need to have people register? It's kind of a weird time, but Christmas services, people plan for that pretty early. So you could start anywhere, I mean, from Thanksgiving or in November, and start doing it maybe 1 week and then go 1 week without, and then the next week do it, and then kind of hit it heavier in December. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
think?
And yeah, and you know, and I love the idea of getting people to click that they're interested in an event, because you can turn around and then retarget them. You can communicate with them about that event. You know, if they have clicked that they're interested in the event, you can, you know, after the ad runs, you can post in the event and say, you know, 21 more days until this. We're excited to have you and your family. We hope you'll, you know, invite some guests and have them, you know, click that they're interested here, more information to come. And then I would update that, keep that content going, kind of create a hype in that initial event that you boosted. And then maybe a couple of days before the event, for maybe you might even want to try a broader group of people that may be waiting until the last minute, don't have anywhere to go, are not even sure if they even want to go to church, but run something for just maybe, you know, 48 hours before the worship service. That's, you know, something kind of like, you know, come on, do this, you won't be sorry, you know, kind of thing. So that's what I would do.
I think there's a flip side to that as well, in terms of if you think, oh, I'm only going to need, you know, we're only going to have 1 worship service on Christmas, and, you know, because of social distancing policies and things like that, we're only going to be able to have 30 seats, and you've got 45 people that want to sign up and you're not even to December. You can use your ads as a way to really gauge interest and monitor and adjust your worship situation or what you offer, because you might have a much larger audience that you learn about from your advertising. So allow that. Sometimes you don't have to say advertising dictates everything I do, but you can certainly advertising shows that you need to offer 2 services on the 23rd instead of just 1, or maybe you need to have 2 groups of Bible studies going simultaneously because you have so many people interested. And so advertising also allows you to monitor and adjust in that regard.
Right. Caleb, I'm gonna ask you, I'm sorry I did not introduce Caleb Hennington earlier. He is our digital content editor, and he does a lot of our e-marketing pieces for us. And so, which a lot of what Day usually handles all of our social content marketing, and you usually handle the email marketing. But do you want to share kind of any tips for people on frequency as far as, you know, touching base with people about an event, reminding them about the event, or just maybe giving a call to action about the event? Do you want to share any expertise
Yeah,
on?
I'll speak briefly on that, on what I can. So usually whenever we have a conference event coming up, like for example, this webinar, we usually try to remind people the week of, you know, if the webinar is midweek or something like that, we'll send out an email beginning of the week. Before that, we'll send it out the week before, maybe to draw interest in getting more people signed up. But you never just want to like put out the event once and never follow up on that, because you'll have people that may not have seen it the first time or have just forgotten about it, you know, forgot to put it on their calendar or something like that, which we all do. But yeah, just following up on your events is super important. Just schedule it out. Maybe you don't want to overload people on it, but definitely 2 or 3 times before the actual event happens, you do want a reminder, you know, send out a reminder, this is coming up. Have you shared this on Facebook? Have you told your friends about it? Things like that, you know, just gentle reminders, not too pushy, but it always helps to do that.
Yeah, and pastors and church leaders, do not be afraid when you are promoting this event from the pulpit to also say, click on the Facebook event on our Facebook page, because we'll give you we'll be giving more information about the event. So don't be afraid to do that. So this is for, thank you, Caleb. This is for Jacob from Beth Roberts. Can lay members have a login to MissionInsite?
It's actually kind of a good question, because the answer has changed, and it's kind of changed multiple times. Send me an email about it, and so I can do some further conferencing before giving a final answer. That's just, it's something that we've had to change in the past, because MissionInsite is a very powerful tool. It has demographic information for basically every corner of the state of Arkansas, and while we do offer this data freely to all the clergy in the state, we do also have to have some make sure that we have adequate restrictions on who has access to the data for MissionInsite's sake, so they don't kick us off their system. So I will, please send me an email about it, and I will do some further checking into that. So.
Okay, I have another question. No one has asked this, but I want to ask this about Day. I want to know your thoughts on creating an ad that is a graphic versus a video.
I don't have a ton of experience with graphic versus video. It's something that I do want to get more into. However, I do know that videos, they do better when they're shorter, a few seconds, 10 seconds max. Think about how long you keep your attention span on something, and it has to get you right as soon as you open it. Also, having subtitles on there helps. I think we've talked about that before, that most people listen or watch videos with their sound turned off, because let's be real, most of the time whenever we're watching videos or something, we're probably in public. So you want to keep your sound turned off, and so you want to make sure there are subtitles, and it's easy to watch. It's interesting. All the ones that I remember have been, I don't know, just things that, unless it's a video about an animal, it's something that is very, I don't know, like good graphics are in the video, and, you know, something intriguing. As far as a picture, I always think real pictures do best. Not a big fan of throwing out just random graphics and things. You know, I think real experiences, real life, what's really happening in the church, what's really happening, what you're doing, and how you're trying to help people benefit and all of that. That's what does best, in my opinion.
Could you share where people can get some free photographics?
Yeah, we use Unsplash, I think is what it is. But also within Canva, They also have pictures.
It's like stock photos.
Yeah, stock photos. They also have stock photos. But I really like Unsplash too.
Yeah, and you can just, subject line, if your audience is Korean, you can type in Korean youth playing outside or Korean parents, and they will show you graphics that people have taken photos and are allowing you to use for free of those photos. So it's a great tool for social media as well. Does anyone have any other questions for Jacob or Day about MissionInsite reporting or Facebook advertising? We'll wait and see if anybody has any questions. Jacob, if they have questions on any of the information on the MissionInsite report, would you put your email in the chat or in the chat so that people can copy that if they have questions about reading the report, pulling a report? And then Day, will you put your email so that if people have questions about creating targeted ads?
And just a note again, in terms of MissionInsite, we again are in. We only have talked about the executive insight. There are other reports like industry insight. I'm happy to answer questions about those as well. If you have questions about what social media networks may be best in your particular area, of course, send me emails about that as well. And yeah, if you have any questions about anything and you're just not sure who they need to go to, you can email me and I'll forward them along to whoever they end up needing to go to. But as y'all's local church liaison, I'm happy to answer any general communication questions as well. And if there's social media, you can reach out to myself and I'll probably just forward it on today, or you can email Day directly and cut out the middleman there. So yeah.
So I absolutely hate public speaking. That includes webinars. So to prepare, I always write out everything that I'm going to say just in case I need to back up. And I did write out everything. I have definitions, examples, all of that. If that's something that you're interested in, feel free to email me and I can send it to you too. It just kind of goes through all the steps and probably explains a little better everything that we went over.
You did a great job, Day. You did.
I will note that if anybody is asking for mine, I didn't write any of it down. So good luck. You can refer back to the recording when it's on the website, which again, as all webinars are, this has been recorded. It will be posted on our website very soon. So, so if you had to miss any part of it.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I also told somebody that we would have it on our YouTube channel within 24 hours. So Christina will get that done and get that up, and so there will be a link there on our YouTube channel. Christina, would you put in the chat what our YouTube handle is for people, please? That would be great. I think we're about out of time. You guys have asked some really good questions. I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions about anything, if you're struggling, if you're in the middle of creating an ad and you need some direction, please don't hesitate to reach out to email or call the conference office. We're always here to help and eager to help, always want to help you do the best job that you can. So anyway, if there aren't any other questions, Day, Jacob, y'all have anything in closing?
I was going to add, I just added the link to the Facebook communicators group in the chat. So if there's anyone who isn't in that already and wants to be, it's a great place where communicators and that Arkansas conference, talk about different ideas, go over things. I don't know. I feel like joining.
Thank you for remembering that. Thank you.
The thing I'd note is that MissionInsite is a great service, and it's not the only thing that the communications office provides. We also, of course, provide church websites for people. We help people get started on Canva Pro or setting up church email addresses, anything like that. We provide a number of resources, so don't hesitate to reach out to us if your church is strapped for cash, but you really want to do some of these more advanced things. We know of ways that you can do it for cheap, and it's still good. It's cheap and good. So we highly encourage you, if you have any questions regarding any of the resources that we provide, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Okay. Everybody have a great day. Thank you so much.